This week, join me in the American Southwest as I explore one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Why did the ancient inhabitants of this land, the Anasazi, build these incredible cliff dwellings, only to abandon them decades later?
And seemingly disappear from history.
Unbelievable.
To find out, I'm gonna take to the air, dangle from dangerous cliffs, and explore some of America's most spectacular archaeological sites. We're digging for the truth, and we're going to extremes to do it.
I'll meet you over there.
Mesa Verde, southwestern Colorado. Land of rugged canyons, soaring mesas, and some of America's most stunning prehistoric ruins. Yet ever since these abandoned villages were first discovered in the late 19th century, they've puzzled visitors and archaeologists.
Pretty incredible, huh? Can you imagine building something like this on the face of a cliff and actually living up here? Hi, I'm Josh Bernstein, and the American Southwest is my home. But I've never gotten to the bottom of its most fascinating mystery until now.
Why did the Anasazi decide to move to the cliffsides? And why would they then abandon this entire region only decades later, never to return? These questions are at the heart of a debate now raging between archaeologists and Native Americans. At stake is the traditional image of the peaceful Anasazi. Everyone agrees that's how they began. The people who became known as the Anasazi started to farm this area of the American Southwest as early as 1 AD. For most of their history, they lived in small, scattered villages on the mesas and in the valleys. But in the middle of the 13th century, something happened. The Anasazi began to cluster together. They built high walls around their settlements, or took the precarious step of moving whole villages onto the cliffsides. Then, fewer than 50 years later, they abandoned these homes too, leaving behind most of their possessions, as if they planned to return. Instead, they seemed to disappear from history. Were the Anasazi invaded by another tribe? Or did they succumb to drought? Why did this complex and far-reaching civilization suddenly collapse? What happened? My exploration begins with Larissa Kumawana, a ranger at Mesa Verde National Park. In addition to her years teaching people about these ruins, Larissa is also a member of the Hopi tribe. The Hopi claim the Anasazi are their ancestors, and Larissa's insights may point me in the right direction.
So there's no running rivers, no streams in the bottom of any of these canyons. So their main water source would have been seep springs.
So there's no water down there?
No water.
The only water would be
in the back of these alcoves here. It is why it's thought that's the reason why the transition happened, from the mesa top sites down into these cliff dwellings. You got the water source right there. Why not build closer to them?
Larissa's answer was practical, but I felt it avoided an important question. The Anasazi could have accessed these seep springs without living on the faces of these cliffs. Why subject an entire community to such exposure and risk? Many archaeologists now think that the ancient Anasazi had a darker side, marked by massacres and even cannibalism. Could violence explain the move to the cliffs? The cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde are certainly impressive, but there are hundreds of other sites throughout this region. Perhaps seeing some other dwellings would give me greater insights into why the Anasazi made such a drastic move. To do this, I need a significant change of perspective. This is a twin-seat, twin-prop, home-built experimental plane. While it might not comply with FAA regulations, its open cockpit makes it perfect for spotting cliff dwellings.
These guys are now trying to work out the logistics of where the camera goes and where they fly. They don't really seem to care if we live or not.
My pilot, Skip Lange. He flew P-51 Mustangs during World War II.
Skip, I don't have a parachute.
Neither do I, so we're even on that score, Josh.
Okay.
With those encouraging words, we're off. Flying in a plane that feels like it's made of rubber bands and balsa wood. This part of the Southwest is known as the Four Corners, the place where Arizona, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico come together. It was the heart of the Anasazi homeland for more than 1,000 years.
This is fun flying with the open air because you get to feel like you're actually just flying up here.
Today, most of this region is covered with forests of pinyon pine and juniper. Yet 900 years ago, it was full of fields of corn, squash, and beans. Archaeologists believe the Anasazi supported 40 to 50,000 people in this area. Perhaps Larissa was right. Perhaps some of the Anasazi's water sources dried out, forcing them toward the seep springs. I'm imagining what it must have been like to move off the tops of the mesas and onto the sides of the cliffs. Talk about living on the edge. Think of the children and elderly on these cliff faces. And they did this throughout the Four Corners region, even in some of the most remote and desolate canyons. Why would the Anasazi make such a change, take such a risk? What could these massive stone walls offer them to make the move worthwhile? To answer these questions, I need to get my feet back on solid ground, where I can hike and explore some of the more isolated cliff dwellings. To help me get to these distant dwellings, I'm teaming up with Vaughn Haydenfeld. Vaughn is an accomplished mountaineer and local guide who knows these canyons and their Anasazi sites like the back of his weathered hands.
Hey, Vaughn? Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's a beautiful day.
Good.
I heard you're the man who can show me some remote sites.
We might be able to find something out here.
You got one in mind?
Yeah, I do. I'll toss that rope in the back and...
Vaughn spent the last 20 years exploring the ruins of Utah's Cedar Mesa Plateau. He's played a critical role in the preservation and interpretation of many sites. He's excited to take me to one of his favorites.
Wait, hold on. This section here looks a little tough.
We drive in as far as we can go. The rest will be on foot.
Where we're going, is it pretty far out there?
Yeah. And, you know, it's a fairly difficult route in there, so... Some nice yucca blooms there.
Vaughn tells me this plateau is cut by dozens of sheer, slick rock canyons where the Anasazi lived. We'll have to rappel to get down into one.
All right, here we are. See where we're headed?
All the way over there.
Yeah. Got that lower set of ruins up against the cliff face.
That's incredible.
Upper set of ruins right up in there. See it?
Ah, right under that cliff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's unbelievable. People actually lived
Yes.
that high up.
Apparently so. You know, it's an amazing thing, but people were hunkered all over in these. This is kind of that final phase before the abandonment here. So people are getting defensive and they're starting to hunker into these little spots that have water.
They're defending the water.
I would think so. I mean, I think that's got to be part of what's going on. You know, that they're here, they've got these towers across here. If you look right across the canyon here, we have a tower.
Oh.
Another collapsed tower, you know, showing that they're in control of this little spring here.
Let's do it.
All right.
The watchtowers intrigued me. What were they watching for?
One thing that continues to blow me away every time I see these sites is, first of all, how well they blend in to the rocks around them. If you didn't know where to look, you can miss it like that. You would never see that thing. And second, why would they build on the face of a cliff? It seems like the worst place to be dragging rocks and making a shelter for the night. Have you used this tree as an anchor before?
No. Here.
Okay, seems okay to me.
I'm gonna also...
How far down is the drop?
Looks pretty far down there to me.
One of these days, I'll get used to doing stuff like this.
Hopefully the rope will get to the...
As long as our rope hits. Rope.
You know how to buckle it and all that? Have you used this kind of rappel device before?
No, I don't do a lot of rappelling.
Uh-oh. So, are you comfortable doing this?
The walking off the cliff part would be all right.
But you've never really...
I don't usually use the rope.
I thought you said you've rappelled.
Yeah, I have rappelled. I just don't usually tie myself in.
You feel, I mean, you guys, this is your choice here. I mean,
They don't care if I die.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Thanks for good TV.
The trick is the
Did I tell you? I love you, Mom. Just in case you forgot.
The trick is the getting down to the bottom.
Have you rappelled down this section before?
No.
So you don't even know when I'm...
I don't do that. Yeah, I don't know what you're... but if you get hung up down there, there's not much I'm going to be able to do to help you.
You mean if my feet get over my head?
Yeah. Or
what else could happen? Flip upside down?
Yeah. Just understanding how, how your descender works.
Well, you said it's 2 ropes that's thick, so I'm going to be feeding it through. And if this way I break on, keep my feet wide.
Right.
Sounds good to me. What the hell? That's why we're here.
And with that, I begin my descent.
Goodbye, I love you.
The really hard part comes halfway down, where the rock face just disappears. One wrong step here, my feet flip over my head, and I'm in serious trouble. I'm in southeastern Utah, rappelling down a cliff face. Just ahead's the lip, the toughest part. Poor footwork here will send my feet flying over my head, and I'll be left dangling hundreds of feet above solid ground.
I'm past the lip.
I can almost hear the sigh of relief from my guide, Vaughn Haydenfeld, who's easing me down. Navigating these cliffs gives me a new appreciation for the ancient Anasazi who lived in them. It's their mystery I'm pursuing out here on Utah's Cedar Mesa Plateau. Why did the Anasazi move into the cliffs and then disappear from this area 800 years ago? At Mesa Verde, I learned that Native Americans believe the cause was drought. But some archaeologists think it's a lot more complicated and violent.
Look up above, the large spiral.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's an incredible spiral. It's a really large one. Pigment's still in pretty good shape.
You have a sense of what that meant?
The spiral?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different stories.
Yeah, Hopis and people who claim ancestral heritage here have, meanings to it. It might be in a migration or their people. Or this could just be the marker of these people at this site, saying, this is us. We're here.
Well, the dwelling's just over here this way.
Yeah, let's go down and have a look at the best part. We're coming right out to the edge of this ledge, which starts getting that kind of defensive nature. A wall here.
And a good view of the tower.
Greenery there, corn cobs still in the greenery.
You see the corn cobs.
Yeah.
This is incredible. This is amazing. These corn cobs are over 800 years old, and they're still here as if they were left just yesterday. Unbelievable.
We're coming right out to the edge of this ledge. This is my favorite part of this particular site. This little end ruin